All right, we're back. So shall we round off the point he was making, and then about the governors not being willing, having the funds but not being. You said they have the funds but not.
They
being
have the
to
funds.
Pay.
They've been, before I started running, of course I followed money. I tracked how the federal government distributes funds to state governments, and I know that there have been about 3 extra budgetary infusion of funds to states through what they call the Paris Club. But what did we find out? The Nigerian Governors Forum quickly gathered together, figured out a way to steal the money. Even the EFCC came out, they were able to retrieve some of it. One governor stole about 3.5 billion naira from the first Paris. I think the governor of Zamfara, I like to name names, and eventually they couldn't punish him because for a while he was trying to marry the president's daughter, Zara, and had some relationship with the wife of the president. They swept this under the carpet. The Senate president was also involved in a scam, that's a Saraki. So the monies that were supposed to go to payment of arrears of workers there was embezzled, squashed. And then there was a second one, and I think there was a third one. And these governors are not paying because they're not interested in paying workers. They're interested in taking care of them. You cannot hear in Nigeria that in 1 month, a governor did not pay himself security votes. But there are states that have not paid workers for 7 months. I think there was a state, is it Kogi, that people were committing suicide because they had not been paid the 18,000 naira minimum wage for a long time. So they can afford to pay it. In fact, a governor of a state, I think it's Gombe, came out and said they can afford 66,000 naira minimum wage. The Deputy Senate President at the time, the current one, said 50,000 words. And it was when we started the conversation that Nigeria can afford it, that they now all started coming out of the woodworks to say that, well, yes, we can pay, but we cannot pay what Sowore is saying because it will cause inflation. And when we start confronting them with the figures, just as we are doing here on this show, that we can actually afford it. You are the people who came about 3 years ago and said the Nigerian economy has been rebased and is now bigger than that of South Africa. South Africa has just shown you that a minimum wage can be living wage. And South Africa, by the way, did not increase the minimum wage of only federal workers or state workers. It's all workers in South Africa. It's now going to be a crime. Mark my word. The operating word there is a crime. Not to pay workers the minimum wage in South Africa. Do you know why? It is the reason why the This Day publisher ran back from South Africa when he went, because he wanted to go and be practicing the same way he was paying his workers. They found out that the labor unions there don't play. And the labor department in South Africa takes it very seriously that you pay workers. You cannot find someone in South Africa who is working for somebody who is told to come back next month to come and get paid. It's not done like that. You have to pay workers. There is a pay day. You don't postpone it. If you postpone it, there will be a May Day.
Okay, so speaking about workers now.
Yes.
Before we went on break, I said what the NBS published.
Yes.
December 2017.
Yes.
December 2017. 18.8% of those who should have jobs in Nigeria. A population of about 200 million, 60% below the age of 35. No jobs. If elected president, where would these jobs come from, and how profitable would they be?
Yes. So we have already told you that the jobs we are providing will pay people a living wage of 100,000.
Yes.
And we are providing 5 million jobs in the first 2 years. Yes. And
I'd like to say that again.
5 million jobs
yes. In 24 months.
Yes.
How?
Okay. I'll break it down to you. We have a program known as Spicer Hit. Spicer Hit. Those are the 10 programs that we're coming to rescue Nigeria with. And the first one is security, second is power, electricity, infrastructure, and then we fight corruption and create an economy that is all inclusive. We also have restructuring, we have health, education, agriculture, and tourism. Starting with agriculture, we intend to put in 1,000 entrepreneurs in every local government. Those hectares of land that
1,000 entrepreneurs. Are these existing or
no? Whether they exist, if they exist, they will be elevated to that level.
Okay.
You know, if they don't exist, we'll create them there. You know, all those hectares of land that is lying fallow in Nigeria that nobody is growing them, you know, be it, you know, a palm fruits or palm tree estate to cocoa, or somebody who is fishing, or somebody who wants to go into livestock, or you want to do animal husbandry, but of a different type, or you want to be growing fish. We'll give you incentives, we'll give you loans with low interest rates, 1,000 each in 774 local governments. That's about 1 million jobs right there. And we're doing this transparently. We are not doing it to party members, able-bodied men, right? You know, electricity, which is power, our number 2. We are immediately in the electrical, in the power sector, elevating Nigeria's miserable 5,000 megawatts of electricity to 24,000. 4,500 of it will come from solar or renewable energy in general, just to put together, you know, solar panels.
From 5,000
megawatts to 24,000. And if
within what period?
Within 2.5 years. And if you think this is impossible,
36 months.
Yes, I'm telling you. And we are putting it on record. If you think this is impossible,
you accountable.
Absolutely.
To
if you think this is impossible, you people will walk your behind off when we come to office. Everybody will be working in this country. We'll turn this country into a construction site. If you think this is impossible, go and find out what Egypt just did in 2.5 years. Sisi, he just added 17,000. It was a mix, you know, from solar, you know, from gas, from hydro, 17,000. Morocco is going to be selling power to France and Malta from solar. We have at least 7 to 8 northern states where there is absolute sunshine. I just came from Kano, right? I just came from Jigawa. I just came from Sokoto. All those areas can be turned to solar farms. You know, and those solar farms are not just good for generating electricity. It's also good for retention of moisture. That is to say that whenever you have a solar farm in an area, you retain moisture, the ground becomes even more fertile, and you can grow other crops in the area. It's unbelievable opportunity that is there. You know, but you know how we love to say it, that you cannot see into the future. You can't be part of the future when you are using analog brain leaders to lead a digital society. So that is just in the power sector alone. In the security sector, where we are looking at hiring more soldiers, policemen, and professionalizing them, we are looking at about 200,000 added, 200,000 teachers also employed to further education and found across the country, 160,000 health workers. All of these are in our document, and we have figured out how to do it and pay for it. You know, we are not going to be doing trader money or empower, which is another way of deceiving people about getting them a job that don't last for 2 years. Trader money is open, you know, brazen bribery of voters. You know, you're walking into markets and distributing 10,000 naira. That's not how to grow economy. You need to institutionalize, you know, job creation. And also, with due respect, we are not developing skill acquisition centers. I mean, that's an insult. I don't know what that means to say you are doing skill acquisition centers. Instead of creating skill acquisition centers, we would prefer to create community colleges so that people everywhere can have the right kind of education, where if you can have a 4-year education degree at first, you can do 2 years. Become an accountant and be handling accounting for a local government, you know. Become a teacher, become a nurse. In 2 years, these are trainings that can be done. You don't need to call it skill acquisition. It has to be an education that is formal, so that if one day you need to move to another sort of part of the country, you will. So, and all of these jobs that we are creating, we also create new jobs and create new opportunities. This country will start working again. And if you think this is impossible on the continent of Africa, go and look at Ghana there. You know, every day people go to Ghana now, they send you pictures of the airport in Ghana as if they went to the moon. Right? You know, come and see the airports in Ghana, because you are just coming from one of the worst airports in Lagos. If you get to Ghana, you have to stop and take pictures first and send home, you know, as if you went to the moon. But Ghana is 34 minutes flight from here. If they are getting it right, we can get it right here. But you have leaders here who don't know what they're doing. You don't have leaders who are progressive, who have capacity, who have exposure, who understand even how the financial markets work. They just bandy around numbers. They give you propaganda. I'll give you one last thing. Okay. In agriculture. Kebbi State, I think, that grows rice. Last year, they made 150 billion naira. It means that if more states like Kebbi grow rice, they will not need even the federal handouts we give every month, right? And then it will create competition among states. Kebbi, for example, can afford to pay 100,000 naira as minimum wage if they decide, just from growing rice. Because now, Kebbi rice is not consumed in Kebbi alone. They have partnership with Lagos State. Yes, yeah. They bring in rice here from Kebbi.
Lake rice.
Yes, lake rice is what they call it. And you have 200 million mouths to feed. We don't need to import a single grain of rice. We just need to have rice mills popping up everywhere. We need to have solar farms popping up everywhere. We need to have windmills popping up everywhere. We need to have gas-fired turbines popping up everywhere. You know, we need technological incubation centers that can also drive some of these technologies locally. So there's several ways we will tackle the country, and we can't wait to be elected so that you see how a country can be made to work or should be run.
Of the other guys, apart from the Buhari and the Atikus, of all the new guys we have on board right now, running for the office of president, what makes you believe you are the best?
You know, I would have loved to ask you which three qualities you are looking for. You know, I want to be modest. You know, the ones that apply to you, and I'll directly address those, as opposed to just picking three that may not cover maybe your expectations.
My expectations are not high. I would say they are modest enough.
So start with one you expect that you think Atiku will have, or that Buhari has got.
No. I'm talking about the alternatives.
Yes.
Talking about Obieze Kwesili.
Okay. Oh, you mean
Mogalu.
Yeah.
And so amongst.
So let's start with pedigree.
Yes.
That of all of these newer candidates, there is no one of them who have under their belt 29 years of fighting for what is just and right. Probably you didn't know about this Kwesili until Obasanjo came into office. I was a student union president in 1992 at the University of Lagos, fighting the military. In 1993, I was already standing behind Abiola, fighting for the restoration of the June 12 election. You know, by 2005, I had already created a mass media outlet known as Sahara Reporter that's competing with CNN's, BBC and the rest of them. All of these guys, maybe you go to Mogalu. Nobody knew about Mogalu until a few years ago, right, when he became the deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Who else do you want to mention? I don't know. I just don't see myself in those categories. But I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm not bragging. I'm not saying that they have nothing to bring onto the table. But I'm just saying, look at history, look at pedigree, look at integrity. That I have been out there, being, I've been confronted by everything: death, expulsion, torture, and I have not bent one moment about to any of the principalities and forces that have been running this country. I've never compromised myself, even though I have been confronted with all kinds of, temptations. But I have never put myself in a position where anybody can compromise. We have been to, jail maybe 8 different times, and never one day came out and apologized to anybody for my convictions or my beliefs. If you want to even look at me from the point of being an entrepreneur, I think you can look at Sahara Reporter and say, this guy created something, that has historical relevance in this country, and that nobody can say, well, let's push that aside. So if you want to talk about education, well, I'm better educated than Buhari and Atiku, but probably not as educated as maybe a Mogalu or as a Kwesili. But, I think I have a master's degree. I don't know what this Kwesili has, but I heard Mogalu has a PhD. But whatever I don't have, Malcolm has.
Okay, so I think we've gotten to the point where it's 60 minutes. We're rounding off now. And the rights and the power is in your hands. It's in your PVCs. You have to go there. You have to vote. You have to choose who your leaders would be. All we can do is guide you. The choice is yours. Thanks for watching. See you next time.